Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thursday evening. You know what time it is? That means it is ELF Live. You will notice that I am here with a different co-host today. I've got my man Jamal Clay with us this week in replacement of Silas, who is in the Philippines doing some soul searching out in the jungles there. We got a great show for you. I'm just going to let you know real quick what we got. We've got some interesting and exciting news we're going to talk about. Now, we've been doing Signing Center all off season. We're now going to do storylines to watch. This is going to be an interesting segment. Then we've got a great guest. We've got the Defensive Player of the Year, Maceo Beard. The Frenchman is joining us. And then Jamal and I have put together a little list. You guys know we've been doing our top 5 list. So this week we've got top 5 athletes. We're going to be doing that. So welcome, everybody. Jamal, thanks for joining me, man. What is going on?
Not much, man. Thank you for having me on again. Appreciate the opportunity. I just realized we have the same mic, so I might hold mine like yours for the whole show.
Yeah, we are, both of us have this little mic here, and we should both probably have mic stands, but we're gonna hold them like this. Sorry, everybody. Yeah, there we go, man. Yeah, I'm super excited that we could do the show together, man. So, everybody in the chat, welcome as well. Okay, there you go, Michael. Hello from Dusseldorf. Thank you. All right, guys, let's jump into our news. The first things first. Silas obviously sent us this message from his remote destination. Sorry, boys, I'm in the freaking jungles of the Philippines. Count me out for the show this week. Once we got that message, we went straight to Jamal, and that's why he's here now with us. Thank you, Jamal, for being here, man.
What in the reliever?
The reliever. Perfectly timed. All right, we've got 16 days to go until the 2024 ELF season is in full swing, kicking off on the 25th and 26th of May that weekend. And our lovely producer Maxie's putting up here. Look at these, our matchups for week 1. Jamal, which one of these games, week 1 games, do you have your eye on? Which one are you excited about? 1 or 2?
I mean, instantly you look at that one right there on the bottom. Obviously, Ravens Surge. I know that's one you might be heavily invested in as well, and that's definitely gonna be a good game. Obviously, for me, I kind of like that Saturday mid matinee with the Mercenaries and the Dragons, but I'm going right to Berlin Russell for that game, just because I think these two teams and what they've done this offseason, I think it's almost safe to say they somewhat closed the gap with the Vikings. You never know how that's going to pan out, obviously, just by looking at things on paper. But, these two teams, at least in the East, probably closer into maybe winning the conference and taking over the East from the Vikings. So I'm definitely going to be tuning into that Thunder Panthers game.
I like that point a lot, man. I mean, you and I were just talking about it before going on. I did that interview with AJ Wentland this past week and talked to him a bunch about the Panthers. And man, I think that they are just absolutely loaded. And that rivalry out there in the East, Berlin and Ravsla, is going to be one of the more interesting ones this year. And I think that's a great point. Close the gap to the Vienna Vikings, baby. Like the East could really be anybody this year. I think that's a great point.
It was a conference that got 3 teams in, despite what people may think of it, right? You got Thunder, the Panthers, the Vikings, A
lot of people saying the East is the weakest conference, but hey, they did have 3 teams in the playoffs. You're right. Hey, great point there. I'm with you on that. Of course, everybody knows I got my eyes on that Munich Ravens Surge game. They traded games last year. And the fact that they're just so close proximity wise, these teams, that they in this offseason had a lot of recruiting battles. We've done a couple interviews on this show, and you can just feel like the players on these teams are feeling that rivalry grow a little bit. Jamal, talk to me a little bit about your thoughts on the Mercenaries, that Mercenaries Barcelona game.
Yeah, I feel like that game is going to be interesting because, a lot of people think Barcelona this year, what are they doing? They've lost. They probably, out of the whole roster, they probably brought back a total of maybe like 18 guys, which could be a good or a bad thing, but it just leaves the unknown, like who is the team. Obviously, a lot of people are big on, Levi Lewis at quarterback, but also like they're playing a Mercenaries team that is one experience with guys that have been and have played in the ELF before, but also, with everything that's been going on there, we don't know. Obviously, these two played each other last year in week 1. We won't talk about obviously the outcome. Silas knows that. But we're in the new year now, so we'll be interested. It'll be interesting to see how these two teams pan out and kind of get a glimpse of like, all right, who are these teams, so to say.
That's a great point, man. A little bit of unknown kind of on both sides for those teams.
Yeah.
And I do think that'll be an interesting matchup. I'm just fascinated to see kind of like with the restructuring with Barcelona. And I'm so excited to see Levi Lewis. I'm so curious to see how he performs in this league. So curious.
Yeah. I think a lot of the ELF media, based on most recent shows, whether it's here or other podcasts, have been kind of, hearing about this Levi guy. I think he's probably the most anticipated person to watch. So we'll get a good warm up for ELF weekend that Saturday of Levi, and he's going to get my guy Carlton. So you know who I'm rocking with in that battle.
He's true to his Swiss teams, Jamal Clay, a loyal fan to the Swiss teams. Yeah, hey Levi, I'm sorry if we're hyping you up too much and creating too high of expectations, but my expectations are up here. So you gotta live up to them. All right, so we got that. That's our week 1 of the ELF season, bro. Just seeing that schedule there makes me so excited. I just can't wait for the season.
16 days away.
16 days away. All right. So our next point in our news segment is the L'Oreal Paris men's expert kit. Now, Jamal, do you have a skincare routine? You and I are getting in our 30s. We're getting a little older. You got a skincare routine?
Yeah, I mean, the older I get, I can't be affording the crackage. So I make sure that I gotta take care of my skin early in the morning and at night, more now than I did in college, definitely. But yeah, I definitely make sure you gotta protect this beautiful face I got here.
Yes, you do, man. You do. Keep that beautiful face, keep that beautiful skin. Well, guys, in the chat, all of you can also have as beautiful skin as Jamal. If you enter into this L'Oreal Men Expert contest, they're going to be giving away prizes every single day up until the start of the season. So we just said that's 16 more days they're going to be giving away prizes. The daily prizes include ELF Game Pass and L'Oreal Men Expert product set. Okay, so that's every single day. And then every 2 weeks, they're going to be giving away a championship game VIP ticket, ELF jerseys, and the L'Oreal Men Expert Premium set. So that's every couple of weeks. So Maxie just put the link in the chat there, and to participate and get in on this this giveaway, you click on that link, fill a couple things out, and get your skincare routine right. Maybe win a couple tickets to the ELF championship game this year. So that's what we got right there. All right. That's our news. That's our news this week. Now, Jamal, we've been doing signing center all, as we said, we're 16 days away, and the season is right around the corner. Not too many more new signings happening. So in lieu of our signing center, we have created a new segment, and it is going to be storylines to watch. I like this. I like this. We're finding the good stories in the ELF this season. And to kick us off in this new segment, we have got a story up in Frankfurt, the reunion of the perfect duo. We've got our guy, Luke Zaradka, reuniting with Markel Castle. Of course, they played together a couple years ago in Milano. And this is kind of a highly anticipated reunion. Jamal, give me your thoughts on this reunion of these two players coming together for the Frankfurt Galaxy this year.
Yeah, obviously, they came back because they thought they had some unfinished business and think, what they did in the Italian league could carry over to the ELF league. I think when when Milan was first announced, we instantly thought that they were going to pair here. Turns out, Milan went with Gene Constant, Markel went with, Munich, and the rest is history. But I think these two pairing back up together, and not just them two pairing back up together, but the playmaking ability that they surrounded Luke Wint. You could tell Frankfurt definitely wanted a new offensive identity. So it's gonna be interesting to see. But Markel's going to command a lot of double teams. There's other guys that are going to be able to make plays. So I'm definitely excited to see, what these two can rekindle up in Frankfurt.
Yeah, man. I mean, I'm very excited to see it. Obviously, Markel had an insane season last year, and then he finished at number 3 in the top 100 of ELF players, offensive player of the year, Triple Crown winner, all the above. Luke had a solid year, especially statistics wise. He finished in the top 100 at 89th. But you touched on it there, Jamal, the other talent that they're surrounding themselves with up in Frankfurt. They got a lot of guys, and one in particular, of course, is Sandro Platzkummer, who, I mean, we talk a lot about how teams will get on offense a quarterback and a wide receiver, and for the A position, and not many teams have an A at running back, but to get a running back that is an A-level talent like Sandro on the team is such a steal. It's just such a gold mine there. What do you think about Sandro Platzkummer joining them up there in Frankfurt?
Yeah, I think it speaks to, the type of team that, Coach Kusling is building. Obviously, the biggest question is going to be health, right? How is that knee? How's that ACL coming along? Are you going to be able to cut? Like, a lot is different when it's all reactionary versus when it's going through physio. So, we'll take a look. I hope we get a healthy Sandro. I think we were teased a little bit last year, and it was unfortunate because of the injury. But I really hope we're able to see what the potential of this offense can fully be with Sandro in there. So I like the matchup. Now let's see. They know the Frankfurt Galaxy know what their biggest hurdle is, right? Their only losses last year came to one team. They know what they have to do to get to that next step. Now, it's gonna be harder in the West this year because a lot of teams got better, but they know what they got to do and who they got to go against and who they got to beat. Now you just got to go do it.
100%, man. And I mean, Coach Kusling, he came on this show like a month or 6 weeks ago, and he said, "Yeah, we're building a roster to beat the Rhine Fire." And that's what I think. I know we're all hoping for a healthy Sandro. It's good for Frankfurt, but not only that, it's good for the league to have an elite European player of this caliber. And if he's healthy, that Frankfurt offense is going to be kind of dangerous right there.
It definitely got potential to be fireworks. So the crazy thing is they got a bye week 1 too. The league knew what they was doing when they set this up. They got a bye week 1 and they play the Fire week 2. So there's really no excuses after.
Hey, they're setting them up. So they got to bye. They get to see the Fire play their first week. They to get that tape, and they got to be preparing for the Fire for those first 2 weeks. We'll see if they can break the Fire curse. All right, so that's what we got for our first storyline, the interesting reunion up in Frankfurt. Then another storyline that we got that's a little bit close to me is The Last Dance. Riley Hennessy and the Stuttgart Surge obviously had a very solid season last year. And after that season, Surge lost in the championship game. Riley Hennessy was retired. He was done playing. But miraculously throughout the offseason, allegedly retired. The miraculous recruiting abilities of Jordan Newman was able to pull him out of that retirement and get him back on the field this year for what he's saying is going to be his last season playing football. Jamal, everyone's heard me talk about the Surge a ton. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts on Riley Hennessy as a quarterback and the Stuttgart Surge coming into 2024, building off that 2023 season.
Yeah, I like Riley a lot as a quarterback. It was unfortunate. Obviously, he got hurt through a good chunk of like that middle part of the season where the Surge had to go to Jan Vainreich and Keontae Allen. But even when he came back, he still performed pretty well. I think his first game was against Munich, although it ended up in the loss. He still performed, pretty well in that capacity, and obviously he did enough to get Stuttgart to the championship. And I think that's what he's done his whole career, even playing, in Italy. He's always had someone that's had championship pedigree, playing in, Germany, for the Unicorn. So I like Riley a lot. I like what he's made of. Surge are just solid all around. And maybe that might not be like the best description to describe them, but they got a 3-headed monster at receiver who can also run the ball. They got a quarterback that competes with like some of the top people in the league. They're definitely a championship caliber team. And they competed with the Fire in that championship game. So, just that Riley got a taste of like what he said was the best football environment he's ever been in. he's got to give him one more shot, one more bite at the apple. I don't blame him.
I love that, man. And you're so right. They really were competing with the Ryan Fire. Obviously, a couple unfortunate plays like in the third quarter that kind of lost momentum, but it was back and forth in that championship game for a while,
Yeah.
which was damn near just a Ryan Fire home game. So playing in that super hostile environment, still being able to compete. And what you touched on, Riley's got kind of this championship pedigree. He's got this championship mentality. I got to play with him for a couple of years, and it's something that I really admire about him is his mentality. Obviously, he's got all the tools physically that you want for a quarterback, but his mentality and leadership ability is very, very good, very, very impressive. I think it's a big reason why the Surge were able to make it all the way to the championship game last year.
Absolutely.
And if he's healthy all season, just like you said, the three-headed monster wide receiver, what I would say is the best wide receiving core in the league. Would you say that, Jamal? Is that the best wide receiving core in the league?
Yeah, no, you're right there. It's definitely, if it's not it's top three for sure. But you got to look at other teams and what they got in terms of like potential. Like I think Paris has a good wide receiver core, but they're unproven, right? The Fire had a good one, but they just revamped and only brought back Harlan. They got two other guys. Right. So to be honest, you could say Stuttgart has the best wide receiver. When you got three guys that go for what they did, the potential is there for even more fireworks, especially with Darnell Stewart only playing half the season and doing what he did.
He's absolutely crazy, Darrell Stewart. He's absolutely crazy, man. I had to play against him in 2021 back in the GFL days. It was traumatizing. And this man had just took the ELF by storm. So I think that's a great point. The other receiving cores that are quite good, whether it's Paris, whether it's Ryan Fire, are a little bit untested, at least for this year. Who knows? Maybe they come out and have crazy seasons. They got good players, that's for sure. But yeah, the Stuttgart Surge and Riley with this last dance would be a beautiful send-off for him if he's able to get out here and win the championship. And then he can go retire. But this is a storyline that I think we're all really interested in. I know a lot of you guys are sick of me talking about the Surge, but I'm going to keep doing it. And Jamal's here to do it with me. So
I would say hindsight 2020, I think the Berlin Thunder is the only team that brought back their core group of receivers.
True.
Outside of that, everyone's pretty new and untested.
That's a good point. That's a good point right there. Hey, we're going to see, man. It's just the talent in this league. I mean, we can talk about almost any team. These teams are just stacked this year. I cannot wait. 16 days, man. 16 days. All right. Our third storyline that we've got is headed south to Italy. Double trouble in Milan. Milano Seaman. We just talked about Luke Zaraka, Jamal. He left after being there for a long time, was the face of that franchise. And they're kind of revamping, rebuilding. They got Zach Bronkhorst and Tommy Wilson, a European wide receiver who some people are saying might be the fastest player in the league. He did run, if my information is correct, a 4.27 40-yard dash. Laser time. Jamal, what do you think about what's going on down in Milan this year?
First thing I would say is that if you're a fan of the Milan team, let's leave it at that. If you're a fan of the Milan team, you should be excited going into this season. One, the jerseys are clean, but two, it's fresh blood. It's a new team, right? And it's new guys. Obviously, you're bringing in Zach, who I'm actually a fan of. I had a lot of conversations with him. I like what he's made of. I like how he talks about the game, and how he, his conversations that he didn't get too deep into me, but like the fact that how he talks about ball and what he wants to do and stuff like that, and how he's getting a little overlooked. I like what he's made of. I like Milan in terms of how they approach the offseason. They got the only American running back, right? I like a team that goes against the grain and does something a little bit different. And then when you look at Tommy Wilson, who is this speedster unknown phenomenon that that we're hearing about, is a difference between track speed and game speed. Right? Can you run, cut, and do all that at the same speed or be able to accelerate to that speed, because that's the only thing that's going to make a difference. So it's going to be interesting to see. This Milan team is different. Obviously, that they want to run the ball. Their receivers are a little bit more on the shorter side with Juan Flores and obviously Tommy Wilson. But we'll be interesting to see. And, they got a leader on defense in Zach Blair, who's been the spearheaded captain of all the teams he's played on the defensive side. There's a lot to be excited about this Milan team. I think that week 1 matchup versus the Raiders that we just saw a couple minutes ago don't rule out Milan. I think that game's going to be a lot closer than people think. We also don't know what the Raiders are, but they could be – Milan could be better than what you think. And we don't know what the Raiders are going to be, but I just talked a lot. What are your thoughts?
Hey, man. No, I like that. That's fantastic. I like what you said there. You're kind of a team that goes against the grain. I mean, you touched on it. They're the only team in the league that has an American at running back. Patrick Carr, he played at Houston, played in the CFL. Dude is legit. He's a very, very good running back. But it is interesting that they're the only team that's taken an American at running back. Everyone else goes wide receiver, quarterback. They've also gone against the grain on defense, being one of only 3 teams to have an American linebacker. So just what you said, Milano really is doing their own thing. It is a total kind of revamp and fresh blood. I do think it's a little bit unknown. I'm very curious to see how this combination of players goes. But that's a great point that you can't count out Milan. That game with the Raiders just could be surprising for some people. A little Italian-Austrian rivalry right there. So, no, I'm serious. Super curious to see. Hey, have you watched much of Patrick Carr, of his tape or anything?
Yeah, I watched a good amount of it. First of all, the guy has huge-ass thighs.
Yes.
Huge-ass thighs. Like, you're not there's a good chance you're probably not going to leg tackle him or take him down one guy. It's probably going to be multiple guys in pursuit of the ball. But Patrick Carr, this is why I like what Milan did, because, everyone is gearing up to play, 7-on-7 ball, essentially. Obviously, with the league and what is going with being pass first, and then a lot of teams going 2As. I mean, it is what it is. Nothing that there's wrong against it, but are you going to have guys that are going to be able to make tackles when needed? Because that's what a team like Milan's going to try to make you do. They're going to try to make you tackle and make plays and make plays in space, especially in the run game. So we'll see. But like I said, I like what they've done this all season, and I'll be interested to see how they pan out that Saturday.
Well said, man. Milan, a team going against the grain a little bit. We're going to see how they perform this year. All right. So those are some of our storylines of the season that we got. We're going to keep doing that for the next coming weeks. That's a fun little segment. Now, Jamal, we have got a very exciting guest joining us here on the show. The Defensive Player of the Year in the ELF last year, Maceo Beard.
Maceo Beard. That's intercepted. Reach to the end zone. Maceo Beard for Cespoir. With a fairly effortless.
Look who it is. Pick up the phone. It's a house call. Maceo Beard. Touchdown. Pick 6.
Yeah, that was nice.
There he is, the reigning Defensive Player of the Year for the European League of Football, Maceo Beard. Welcome to the show, man. How's everything going?
Thanks for having me. Everything is great right now. I'm in Paris.
In Paris, man. We got a lot of questions for you, but I think kind of the first thing that's on my mind is what made you decide to go play for Paris this year? Obviously, your heritage, but I'm sure you had an offer from every single team in the league after your performance last year. Why is Paris the place for you?
Well, it's, there's so many things to be grateful for, and having an opportunity to play at home is pretty cool. And it's the first time I get to make calls and check plays in French on the field, and that's one of the good things. I'm grateful for the challenge too, because it's like these people no, they don't really know me, and I don't know them because I wasn't playing in France.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, most definitely. And those people don't know you, but I do know the people in Switzerland know you, and they know you very well. Obviously, you had a great season last year with the Guards, but you're someone that has played ball at particularly at a high level. Obviously, CFL, Team France, played for Berlin, and then you were one of the first big signings for the Guards. But what I want to know is, what did you learn from your time in Berlin that you took into the offseason and made you the player you were when you played for the Guards?
In Berlin, to me, it was more as a person that I learned how to fit into a team, because it's like I was an import, so people look up to me as a leader, but I'm not very vocal. I'm just kind of doing my own thing, and I like to get in my zone and not talk a lot. So it's like it was hard. I felt like I didn't give the best image of myself when I was in Berlin. I didn't socialize and I didn't communicate as much as I wish I did. So that's something I really worked on in the off season, and I've come aware of. And I did a much better job when I got with the Guards, and I think that really helped as like team bonding. Now it was a different situation because it's like it's a new team, so you get to step in and really make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Now you touched on the off season a little bit there. And we were talking a little earlier before the show about your off seasons. Can you tell us a little bit about how this past off season has been for you? Is it different than your previous off season going into last year? And what's this all been like for you?
Yeah, so when I played with Berlin, I just had got cut from the CFL and denied an opportunity from the NFL IPP and broke my leg. So it's like I had a lot to be pissed off about. Now this year it's a whole different deal. Like I played a good season. I'm healthy, and I'm playing home, so I have everything to be grateful for. I'm not really pissed off at anything. So it's like I still have to put the work in, but it's a different kind of deal.
Yeah, and you spoke about obviously breaking your leg and going through adversity, and obviously playing with that chip on your shoulder. You win Defensive Player of the Year. You have a great season. You head into the off season. You get to go back home, play for Paris, which is going to be a crazy summer, and not just football, but the Olympics and all that stuff. But we talk about the chip. Where do you continue to find motivation to make yourself a better player?
Well, I think like I'm not nowhere as nowhere as good as I want to be, and I know I can be a lot better. And every time I watch the film, I'm like, I can do better than that. And so that really drives me. I want to be better, and I want to stay at the top now that I got the award. And it's also weird because it's like I've come to realize people look up to me, and I'm inspiring a lot of people, but I'm just 23. Like I don't even I don't know anything about it. I'm still trying to figure it out myself, and a lot of people are expecting me to like be an example for them. So it's like it's not like me in 20 years and my career is behind me or something. It's like right now, and I have to act like a professional, and people kind of expect me to be that guy right now, but I'm still trying to figure it out myself.
That's interesting, man. And chat, if you guys have any questions from Maceo, put them in the chat here, and if they're good questions, we'll ask them. I want to stay on this mentality because obviously having so much success at such a young age. I mean, you're quite young in the European League of Football world. You're just 23 years old, already having won the Defensive Player of the Year. Now, when you look back at last year and all the success you had, what is it that you still want to improve on? And you said when you're watching the film that there's certain things that you feel like you could have done better. And I think a lot of people would say, hey, you had a great season. What kind of things are you still trying to improve on?
I want to, like, off the field, I want to be a better teammate. I'm just like, I know I'm trying to smile more, but it's like people don't really understand how I communicate. And so this is one thing I'm trying to work on. These guys don't know me. It's like I got to break the ice and just, I feel like if they feel like I trust them, they can trust me, then we're going to be a lot better on the field. And then from like a technical standpoint, just like being able to like play man, but this is the same thing. Like the coach has to trust me to do that. Coaches, like, I have to gain their trust wherever I'm at, and it's a new team, so it's like they gotta have confidence in my abilities.
Most definitely. You talk about being a better teammate. What kind of teammate was Silas Nacita?
Silas was definitely the one that was breaking the huddle every time. But he always had like a nice word for like the team every time, like trying to motivate the guys and make sure the pace was like always up and energy was high and running, you know.
Man, hey, I think a lot of people look at the season that Paris had last year and were impressed, myself included, especially for a first-year team. But the expectations now this year, I think, are a little bit higher because of the success last year and the players that you guys have got on the roster this year, yourself included. Can you talk to me a little bit about how the Paris Musketeers are looking, how these practices been going, and how do you feel about the team so far?
And we're looking good. The pace is fast. There's a lot of energy going on, and you know, it's just you gotta. I think at the end of the day, it's going to be who makes the who makes less mistakes and who can make the big play at the right time. And it's just like who's gonna step up really in that moment when we need that guy to step up. And we're yet to find that guy, but we're working on it. I think we have a lot of.
You know,
Sorry, we have a lot of guys that are willing to take that spot and be that guy for the team. So that's a good thing. There's a lot of competition going on.
Most definitely. And we spoke earlier just talking about like receiver groups, and I mentioned Paris have a nice, you know, core group of receivers, but it's kind of still like unproven, especially with the new additions. In the West, I mean, DB to DB, you're gonna be going up against like Jarvis, like Harlan, Calvin, Connor Weddington, Willie Patterson. Like there are some dudes and some playmakers in the West. You know, what excites you about going up against competition like that on a week in, week out basis?
Yeah, it's great. Like, you know, as a European player in the European League of Football, like you gotta stand for yourself and be like, hey, I can still play. Like, you know, teams like to bring the American receiver, like he's gonna be that guy, and the fans are all about, oh, he's American, blah blah blah. You know, like, hey, I'm European. What's up? Like, I'm gonna be right there on the line. Like, that's exciting.
Chill, Mace. Chill, Mace.
I love that. Let's go. There we go, man. Which receivers? And I know you played against different ones last year, but which receivers in the league were the toughest to go up against? Which ones were you most impressed with?
I think Jarvis McClam was really one of them, and I only got to go against him once because of what happened later down the season. Mahungu, obviously, and now it's pretty cool to go against him every day. And then I never played against, I mean, I did play against Malik Stanley back when I was in Berlin, but I was playing safety, so it's like I didn't really get to go one-on-one with him. And then Markel, of course. I mean, there's a lot of great guys. Like, it's just they got to. It's more about like how the team is going to use them and how the quarterback's going to deliver. Because, you know, it's if the timing's not right, then it's easier for the defense.
Most definitely. You mentioned obviously playing safety in Berlin. You have a preference, whether it's corner or safety?
I kind of like the chess match that goes when you play against when you play safety, you get that chess match with the quarterback, but then
Yeah.
you don't really feel the one-on-one competition as much as when you're pressing at corner like every rep.
Yeah, that's fair.
In the chat after what you just said there about being a European going up against the American receivers, Goran Zech, who is obviously a fantastic European DB in the league, just wrote exactly. So he supports your statement 100% there, representing for European DBs, clamping down on American wide receivers. There is a interesting thing. Silas said, I asked, because obviously you guys were teammates, and you led the league in interceptions. You had how many? Would you have 7 or 8 interceptions? And I asked him, how does he get so many picks? What is he able to do that gets him so many picks? Silas said that you use some very interesting film study techniques and possibly even use some AI. Is this real or is this nonsense out of Silas's mouth?
I wouldn't call it AI. It's just like I take notes on a Google Sheet stuff, and it's like I'll take a lot of notes, like what's the first step of this guy, where they line up on the field, the down and distance, and then it kind of like you put it all together, and then it's gonna tell you what happens when this happens, but at the end of the day, like when you're on the field, like you don't have time to tap into that computer and be like, what's going to happen next? So you got to like remember that, and AI doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, I think you should just copyright exactly what you just said, because that's potentially going to be a great idea down the road. I want to make sure you get credit for it. Hey, you mentioned you're 23, you're young, you're obviously, there's more ahead of you in terms of like your game and potential and stuff like that. But what advice would you give to the young children, the young kids in the game growing up, watching you play, obviously now looking up to you, homegrown player, defensive player comes back, plays for Paris, they're going to be watching you on Saturday. What advice would you give to them in terms of development or growth or wanting to be better at their craft?
I think it's putting your ego aside and look yourself in the mirror and really know what you got to do better. Pick the right role model. Like that's going to make a huge difference. If you're going to watch film, like you have to watch film, but you got to watch the right guy and you got to watch everything that he does and try to do it. You're going to do it your own way, but it's like you got to copy someone, and if they're really good and you do everything exactly the way he does it, you're going to be really good too. And I think one thing I didn't realize, because I was locked in on like football, cover 3, cover 2, X and O's, blah, blah, blah. I think something is really cool, and this really I've come to notice recently, is the greatest resource through this football thing and sports and being like part of a team is the other people that are in the room. And I didn't realize, and I wish I did earlier, because I probably missed on a lot of opportunities. And in 20 years, I'm going to remember those people more than I remember that T-step I did and I got that pick. That doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Man, that's 100%, man. You're young, but you're wise. That's exactly what it's all about, is the people that you get to play with, get to know, your brothers on the team. I mean, these are connections for life, and that's the absolute best thing about this game. And that's what carries through for your whole life. You retire. Jamal and I are retired now, but we still have relationships from when we played, and those are so important, man. So that's it's great to have that as a priority. You did mention it. Last question before we let you go. You should have good role models and people that you look up to when you're studying and maybe being a football player in general. Who are some of those people who is your role model that you look up to as a player, maybe on the field or even off the field?
I think I don't really have a name that comes up to my mind right now, because it's like I'll take a little bit from everyone around me, and it's like this guy, just the way he walked in the room, this guy, the way he says hi to people, how this guy does, the most random things, the small details. You can take, like, everyone can be a good example, and you can take from everyone. That's why you got to learn and always be like channeling your awareness to like all the detail and try to grasp as much as possible. And right now,
Absolutely, man. A little bit from everybody. You can learn from everybody. Jamal, you got anything else from Mace?
Yeah, I got one more question. I don't want the chat to feel like we're neglecting them, so I want to ask one question from the chat. But how is it going up against Anthony Mahungu by Spring Football News?
It's really cool. Like, we used to do this in the off season years back, kind of like low key, didn't want anyone around and everything. Now we got to do it at practice where everyone's looking, so the competition is a little harder, but it's great. Like, he's making me better, and I hope I make him better. I make him better too.
There you go. That's perfect. Two of the best European players at their position. Not just European players, best players in the league at their position, going at it in practice. Maceo Beard, man, thank you so much for joining us on the show today, man. You're killing it. You're doing great things for your team, of course, but also for the league, being such a high level player. And we're lucky to have you, man. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. I really appreciate it. And I hope I wasn't too much of the stereotype football player that was like super serious and everything. So thank you, guys.
No, man, you were great. Way to go. See you, brother. Good job.
Have a good one.
Jamal, man. Hey, he is awesome. He's a good kid.
He's great.
Hey, Jamal, I think you're pretty delayed. Will you want to pop out of the room real quick? Or am I delayed on you too?
Yeah.
All right. What's up, chat? All right. So just me now. I don't know if I'm delayed. I know that Jamal is delayed for me, but Maceo Beard, he really impressed me, man. I didn't know what to expect. I never heard him speak. I never talked to him. And I was quite impressed with how he carried himself and his mentality. Jamal, what's up? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Am I delayed for you or is it all right?
No, you're good now.
Perfect. You're better now too. All right. So I was just saying while you were out for a couple of seconds, I was super impressed with him. Have you talked to him before, man?
No, I've always been wanting to get in contact. Like we've texted and we've messages, but not like full on interview, just to talk ball. But always been intrigued and wanting to talk to him. He's not that I didn't think he was immature. He's way more mature for his age than I didn't even know he was 23.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, like he carries himself with kind of like a veteran aura there, and his mindset and what he's thinking about, I think, is right. And just some of those little things he said,
Absolutely.
like paying attention to the little things that everybody has to offer that you can pay attention and take from them. So I was impressed, man. Do you think
he's definitely dialed in?
Oh yeah,
he's definitely dialed in.
How do you think he's gonna do this season in Paris? Obviously, last season was crazy, especially statistically with the picks. How do you think he's gonna do with the Musketeers?
I think it's gonna be interesting. I think from a weekend, like we talked about, I think from a week in, week out, competition wise, like he's gonna get like people like not that he was hiding last year, but now like people know like, oh, I want him.
Yep.
Like he's the guy. Like, people like offensive coordinators are gonna try to scheme their best player to go either find Mace or find wherever that opportunity is. So I like him. I think he's gonna hold up. I think he obviously plays corner, he plays safety, he has that versatility. But it's gonna be interesting to see how he pans out this year. I think he'll hold his own.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing under Coach Mark Mattioli, a great defensive mind. And so, I mean, this team, the West, man, Ryan Fire, Paris, Frankfurt. I mean, these teams, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. All right. So we're heading now into our final segment of today's show. So you guys know, if you've been watching, that we've been doing top 5 lists. We've done quarterbacks. We've done wide receivers. A lot of people got upset about the wide receivers. Some people that weren't on the list. And Silas have made the excuse that actually some of these guys are on the athlete list instead. So that's exactly what we're doing today. Is we have our top 5 athletes in the ELF. Now, Jamal, will you give a little rundown of kind of what was your criteria? What were you thinking of when making this list? Because a lot of people can think different things when you say athlete. So let us know, what was your criteria for this list?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, when you think athlete, you automatically are thinking, or at least for most people, are thinking the skill guys, the quote unquote playmakers. And granted, there's a good amount of guys on my list that are those, but I've also taken into account like an athlete, like how does one person move at the position with their weight, with the play, where they, how quick, how fast are they able to transition and do things at their position or wherever they're at that maybe someone else can't do. What separates them? What makes them different? What makes them the best at their game? So there's someone I'm just gonna give a heads up. There's someone on my list people that might be confused about.
Okay.
I'll explain a little bit, but athlete could be more than just your playmaker, so to say.
Yeah. Okay. I like that. Yeah, that's got a great explanation for. I'm curious to see who's your little wild card, bro. I'm curious. All right. So let's kick it off. We'll start off with my number 5, headed out to the east, Vienna. Xavier Edwards. Now he's a little bit older. He's a little bit of an older player, but I'm just wildly impressed with how he's maintained his speed and athleticism. I watched him in person going at like one-on-one against Darryl Stewart Jr. this past year. Darryl did get the best of him on a few plays, but kind of their battle back and forth, and just seeing the way that he moves. Obviously, he does a bunch of stuff and returns punts and kicks, and just the athletic ability that he has. I think that he deserves to be on the top 5 of athletes.
No, I definitely agree. Like he's on the top 5. Don't like the seeding, in my opinion, but like that he's on the top 5.
All right. Okay, interesting. All right, who do you got for 5? Who do you got for 5?
Which is a spoiler because he's on my list, but we'll dive into it. Get that. So number 5 on my list. Here we go. Offensive lineman Keanu Ebanks. Now people are gonna be like, how do you have an offensive lineman as an athlete? How do you have an offensive lineman as an athlete? This guy kicks people out the club. This guy works up to the second level faster and quicker than any other offensive lineman in the league. He's agile, he's strong, and he can move. And he plays like the key position on offensive line, obviously left tackle. But you could put him inside, depending on obviously personnel and stuff. But Keanu Ebanks, sneaky good athlete, has good bend. Obviously, he played in the CFL for a little bit. This is his 3rd year in the ELF. If you haven't watched either him play a game or watch his highlights, then you don't understand why I'm putting him here. But for somebody at that size, at that position, who can do what he does better than most, he's very athletic for his position. And that's why I'm giving him the props he deserves at number 5.
Man, I absolutely love that pick. I love that. That makes me, man, I wish that I considered like kind of other positions. Like in my list, I kind of just did, receiver, DB, sort of kind of threats. But we don't give enough love to the offensive lineman. And like when all things are considered, you talk about size, strength, speed, mobility, all of this combined, he's a phenomenal athlete. I was actually just watching his tape 2 days ago. I was like, damn, this dude is a killer. I like that a lot.
People out the club.
Yeah. I love that, bro. I love that. All right, that's a great one. Props to the offensive lineman. Well deserved. All right, my number 4 is a little Austrian guy by the name of Yannick Meyer. Now, if you have ever watched any Stuttgart Surge games, you have probably seen a highlight of him hurdling somebody. This guy's absolutely reckless with his body, and he's just incredibly athletic, returns kicks, returns punts, does a little bit of everything on offense for the Surge, and just down to true athleticism. This guy can really do it all, and he's incredibly strong. He's a personal trainer This is his work outside of football. So this guy takes care of his body very seriously. But I think the thing that really impresses me is those flashy highlight hurdles. That really stick out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not talking about like hurdles where somebody's coming down, to try and do a little ankle bite tackle. I'm talking about dudes are stood up and Yannick is jumping 6 feet over them multiple times a game. So I got Yannick Meyer.
I'm convinced on his day-to-day life, he just walks by people and jumps over people on a day-to-day basis. Like,
he's a funny dude, man.
He's so athletic and yeah, he was doing it when he was with the Raiders too. So I like that.
Yes.
My number 4, I'm gonna go with somebody who probably you haven't heard him much often or as of late, and it's because he recently just came back from a really, really crazy injury where he needed surgery. Life was in jeopardy, but before that, Nico Lesser was probably one of the top athletes, not in the ELF, in all of Europe. We're talking about someone who was an all ELF as a DB, could easily be all ELF as a receiver. Played in Barcelona the first 2 years, signed to the Galaxy last year. I don't know if it was heart surgery or something with his chest where it took him out and away from the game for the entire year. He is back. I believe he signed as a DB, which even makes their secondary even better, gives them a little bit more flexibility. But he's someone who not is just one of the best athletes in ELF, but in all of Europe. And that was even before ELF even came. So Nico Lesser, I'm excited to see how he plays this year after coming off, just a life-changing event for him. But Nico Lesser is someone that you guys should get very familiar with.
I love that, man. Damn, I didn't know about the really serious injury there, but hey, awesome that he's gonna be able to be back on the field this year and be a part of the ELF. Absolutely freak athlete. All right, I like that. Okay, Jamal. It's interesting to see how our lists are busting out. All right, my number 3 is a guy we had on the show last week and actually was part of the discussion for why we started making these lists. Willie Patterson. Obviously, the man who stepped in for Nathaniel Robitaille at the Rhine Fire last year, playing down in Spain for the Madrid Bravos, a team I'm super excited about. But this guy does it all. And I think there's even on the ELF YouTube channel a video called Mr. Do It All, Willie Patterson. And that's because there's a game that the Fire were playing against Hamburg where he had every different type of touch that you can imagine. He had a couple, like fly sweeps in the backfield. We had little screens. He had deep balls. He had overs. He had just everything. And he really can do it all. And then, you see on one of these, he goes in, runs on a fly sweep for a touchdown, and then just does a damn backflip in the end zone. I think he's just really springy, super athletic guy that I think is going to bring a lot of fire to the Madrid Bravos this year. What do you think about that, Jamal?
Yeah, and I'm excited we get him for a full season from start to finish, kind of see what his impact is going to be, for a full season in which, like, people obviously got film now. They go up against him twice. He's with a team for a full season now. So I like Willie Patterson. I like great interview last week, by the way. So I'm excited to see him in that El Clasico matchup versus Barcelona. I believe that's week 2, but I'm excited to see how that's going to turn out.
El Clasico. And our director, Maxie, just informed me he believes he also had a pick 6 in that game. Maxie would know as a Hamburg fan who is probably traumatized by Willie's performance that week. So, yeah, just a little bit of everything. That's good. El Clasico coming. All right, Jamal, number 3. Who do you got, man?
Here we go. So for number 3, I mean, this guy really took the league by storm last year. And, someone in the chat says, let's talk about DBs. I'm going to bring one up now, and that's Devin Burrell, not just DB, but return specialist. This guy changes games. He literally won the Prague game when he was on the Lions. I think it was week 1 or week 2. Not Lions, the Kings, Leipzig versus Prague. He literally won that game. I believe he took a punt return or a kick return to the house. Comes to Milan halfway through the season, takes about another 3 or 4 to the house. This guy is a difference maker anytime he touches the ball. Now, I'm excited to see more of him in the defensive back role, for a team that has stability and that will likely finish the season. But we'll see how it pans out. But honestly, it shocked me that people were still kicking him the ball at some point last year. At that point, I just kick it out of bounds and just take the flag at that point.
Hey, Jamal, all I'm gonna say right now, for now, is I like that pick. Okay, that's all I'm saying for now. All right. If that's a hint for anything, that's it. You said a lot of good things that I agree with right there. A lot of good things that I agree with. All right. Number 2 for me is a guy that people were shocked was not on mine or Silas's wide receiver list. And that's the man, Prime Savage, Jarvis McClam. Up north this year in Hamburg. Obviously, he does it all. And really, I mean, not even too much to say about Jarvis. I mean, he's just kind of like the full package. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he can really do it all. Super loyal guy as well. I know that doesn't have anything to do with athleticism, but I'm impressed by that. I just think that this dude is really the complete package. And there's nothing that he can't do on the offensive side of the ball. Probably put him on defense too, and he'd be great anyway. Jarvis McClam is my number 2.
Yeah, and shout out to Maxie. We're giving the Sea Devils some love, but Jarvis comes in at my number 2 also. I think.
Oh, there we go.
The impact that he has, returns, running the ball, being a running back if he had to. I believe he could throw the ball. I think he had a touchdown with the Raiders last year. Anyway, Jarvis has the ability to make someone miss in a London phone booth, right? He's shaky, he's strong, he's fast, he's quick. Multiple DBs have told me he's one of the hardest people to prep for because you don't know where he's going to line up either majority of the time. But he makes the most out of those opportunities whenever they come about. Jarvis, super athletic, got him on at my number 2 spot.
That's a good number 2 pick there, Jamal. Smart. All right, man. My number 1, and OTP in the chat says a lot of Panthers players on the list today. They'll be a beast of a team once more. My number 1 is also a Panthers player, Devin Burrell. You have him at number 3. I mean, you said a bunch of things that I absolutely agreed with about this guy. I played against him in 2022. He was with the Allgäu Comets. And I don't know if this was his first or second year in Europe. And I was blown away by his explosiveness. The way that he would just close down on the ball, on ball carriers, was just a different level of speed, a different level. And I remember I went up to him after the game and was like, man, you're something else. And you play fast as hell. And what you said, obviously, with all the kick return touchdowns, he was the special teams player of the year for the league last year. I kind of equated Burrell this year to being kind of like the Christian McCaffrey path. I know he's a primarily defensive player, but to me, Christian McCaffrey was on the Carolina Panthers, kind of a bad team that didn't really have their stuff together, but was still a great player. Devin Burrell was on Leipzig and Milan, 2 teams that had a little bit of struggles. This year for Burrell is going to be Christian McCaffrey on the 49ers, like with an organization that's got everything together, that has the resources, that has people around him. I would love to even see him get a couple touches on offense. I mean, I'm sure he'd be phenomenal at that too. So Devin Burrell, to me, number 1 athlete in the ELF. Very impressive ball player.
Yeah, just in my career alone, I haven't seen anybody like him. States, Europe, just what he could do at any moment, and how often he does it, just ridiculous. My number 1 athlete is Xavier Edwards. Xavier, you want to talk about someone that has an impact. Xavier has a great impact, or has had a great impact in the Vikings on defense, special teams, and offense, right? When you talk about defense, year 2, when they played the Barcelona Dragons, Kyle Sweet and Magic Zach were tearing up the league. And even giving the Vikings a hard time that first game in the first half. Second half, Vikings played more man, and Xavier shut down Kyle. Vikings go on to win that game. We know the outcome, and the rest is history. But he's done that multiple times throughout the season. Another thing, on the returns, like punt return, kick return. He had a big return in the championship game. He's someone that could take it to the house, speed, quick. People maybe discredit him because of the size, but I mean, he holds his own and holds his weight with anyone. And then offensively, just ask Danny Mitchell how he was used, right? Running the ball, receiving the ball on offense, scores, tough runner, literally could do anything. Literally, he could probably kick, and we just don't know about it, right? Xavier Edwards, I think, is my number one athlete. Obviously, we can't really argue with a lot of guys that are on this list, and there's a great athletes out there. But I think with his value, what he could do, what he has done, and proven, Xavier's my number one.
Man, hey, you just made a good case. I mean, I might have to bump him up a couple after everything you just said right there. I mean, that's all great points, absolutely. And at the kickoff press conference event a couple weeks ago, I talked to him for a long time. I mean, he just raves about him. And this is just like, of course, everything he does on the field, but him as a person, as an import, what he does kind of for the team building as well. And that's something that just adds to the value he brings. Hey, man, I like your list. That's a good list. I love that you threw in the Keanu Eubanks on there. Give a little offensive lineman. I love that.
I gotta give my man Ebanks some love. He definitely he deserves it. I was looking to see, because I didn't. You could create a list with a lot of athletes, but O-linemen are athletes too. I believe Coach Harbaugh for the Chargers says O-linemen or linemen, offense and defense, are considered weapons too. So, had to do some digging and find out who that guy was.
He's a weapon. There we go. All right, those are our top 5 lists, guys. Jamal, man, that's our show. That's our show. That was great, man. I appreciate you coming on. That was fantastic.
No, appreciate it, man. Appreciate the opportunity. It's always fun talking some ball. We're 16 days away. It's about to get crazy because you got ELF that's going to be coming at you fast and heavy real soon.
Absolutely, man. All right, real quick before we go, Jamal, give me your prediction on those week 1 games that we were talking about: Surge versus Munich, Mercenaries versus Barcelona, and Panthers versus Berlin. Give me your quick picks.
Quick picks. All right. Well, I'm rocking with my Mercenaries. I think we have enough to get through Barcelona. It would be interesting. I think their secondary is actually pretty good. So, I don't know how the Mercenaries look. I just know some of the guys they signed. And we'll see what Val Gunn has in store, but I'm rocking with the Mercenaries. Berlin versus Panthers. Man, this is going to be a great game. I just think the Panthers are built for Berlin. You talk about Kyle Kitchens, well, we'll give you Ebanks. You talk about, receivers and DBs, we have ours too. And it's really gonna be a chess match between AJ and Jacob. And then obviously Burrell versus Aaron Jackson. I think Berlin may have the mismatch when you think about like Robin and Nikolai, and they also got another tight end from Potsdam was pretty good. But I think the Panthers, I'm gonna rock with the Panthers. The only thing that really worries me about the Panthers is their secondary. I think they're pretty strong in the front 7. The secondary might be my concern in terms of if they'll be able to match up with those 3 guys that Berlin has. And then, man, you're making me choose Munich, Stuttgart. That's hard.
Tough one.
All right. I'm gonna go. Ultimately, I think they split because they're home. I'm going to rock with Stuttgart. I think they're going to split this year.
I think that's a fair analysis. I think that's a fair prediction. I mean, I think I'm with you on everything that you just said there, but God, I'm so excited. All right, there we go. Chat. Thank you guys so much for joining us this week. Jamal, thank you so much for joining us and co-hosting. It was an absolute blast, man.
Most definitely. Take care, everyone.
Bye, everyone.